3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Welcome to the System and Soul Podcast, a place for founders and entrepreneurs to discover breakthrough in their business. I'm Benj Miller, fellow founder, business coach, and your host. This is your place to gain clarity and control as you lead through the challenges you face every day in your business. Running a business is just hard, so we're bringing you the conversations with people who are figuring it out, have figured it out, to help you find breakthrough. Welcome to the System and Soul Podcast. System and Soul, welcome back. We've got Sean Castrina today. This man is a man of mystery, maybe the most interesting man in the world. He's started over 15 companies. He's got a podcast of his own called The 10-Minute Entrepreneur. You can check that out. He's written 2 books, The Greatest Entrepreneur in the World and 8 Unbreakable Rules for Business Startup Success. So super fun conversation coming your way today. Sean, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
So Sean, as always, I warned you, I'm going to ask you, what's one super interesting thing that the world doesn't know about you? We can't find out by Googling.
All right. I'm going to be 56 years old and I still have a 6-pack. I'm cut the F up.
That's impressive.
So there you go. That's not, I know I joke with my son about, Instagram, and he goes, Dad, don't drop it. Because I'm working out and I just tease him and I go, I'm 56 and I can still absolutely destroy you because he's a wrestling coach. I've never stopped working out. I think people always say, do you have some ridiculous diet to do this or do that? I'm like, I wrestled Division I in college and played soccer and tennis and I just never stopped. So there was never a drop off. So I don't think my body ever said change. Because I've done the same thing 6 days a week since I was a teenager. And so I don't think there's ever been a shock to my body saying, okay, let's put on 20 pounds.
Right. Or let's slow down. We can slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down our metabolism and all that. I wonder do you have any idea if that's affected your energy as well? Oh,
there's no doubt. I mean, I'm extremely high energy. Now, when I was in my 20s and, 20 to 35, I was a rocket ship. I'm more strategic with my time now, but I know how to, because of being an athlete, I know how to be in peak when I need to be in peak, like Tony Robbins would say. Yeah. I mean, Tony can go a lot, but he also knows if you ever go to his event, he speaks one day, the next day he doesn't. Typically there's a video or something, he knows even his limitations. And I think
I'll tell you.
He is. I've never seen any. I would say that, if you jokingly, this is a joke, but if you told me he was dipping his head in cocaine backstage, I would, and it came out on his eyebrows, I'd believe it, because I've never seen anyone ever. And I'm an appreciator of just that ability to stand on. He's a big guy, 260, probably 270, 6'7". He's on stage 6, 7, 8 hours, and I'm telling you, the energy does not drop off.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, just from a pure speaking standpoint. I've never seen anybody go like he does.
To not just maintain the energy, but his cognitive function and empathy and interacting with people as he does that is just absolutely on.
It's mesmerizing. I told my son after we saw him for one day, I go, you don't know how difficult it is what that guy just did. I said, just to be on your feet for 6 to 8 hours running around an auditorium, because he runs around the entire, guys run around on stage. Okay. We love rock stars running around on stage. He runs around an entire stadium.
Yeah.
He runs up the aisles and down and all the rest. And it's a sight to behold.
Unreal. So one of our themes coming into this new year is intentionality, which is a good time of year to have that.
Yeah.
You slipped in there. You're more intentional with your time now than you used to be. What does that look like for you? How are you thinking about that coming into 2023?
Yeah. Some things that I've learned over the years is I'm very strategic with my time, in that I don't have one of these never-ending to-do lists I would have in my 20s, because the best money you'll ever spend is the day you hire a personal assistant. That's free advice out there. Whether it's virtual or whatever that may be, the day you make that decision, I'm just telling you, you just doubled your time. So with that understanding that I have that, and understanding that even in my early 20s, I mowed my grass one time as an adult, one time, even when I didn't make money. And when my neighbor boy came over and said, I'll mow it for $5, I literally gave him my lawnmower and said, I'm investing in your lawnmower business. Don't ever bring this lawnmower back. Took him out my yard with a little tape measure. I said, every time you see my grass hit about this height, you come over and mow it. And I paid him for a year of mowings that day. I gave him my lawnmower, paid him for a year, and set the expectation. Being funny, but that's actually a 100% true story. With my time, I know what I do that moves the needle. So I never go into a day with more than like 5 things. But what I do, nobody else can do, and nobody else can do it at the level I can do it within my team. I play a game of, like rummy. Let's get rid of all the cards. Let's get rid of, I don't need to have a lot of things in front of me. I need to have a few things in front of me. So I'm intentional with that. I'm intentional in that with regards to fitness. I know that there's a direct correlation between my energy level and how a body at rest stays at rest. Like, why do you feel like crap by the time New Year's hits? Why? You've been laying around for like 5 days, right? You got relatives over, you get out of your routine, and you can't wait for them to leave. Why? So you typically can get back into your routine. So
right.
I'm very intentional with my schedule. And then the last part of that is that, and I've been doing this for a while, and there's a book about it called The 12-Week Year. Basically, you divide the year up into quarters, and you treat each quarter as if it's a year. And so I'll go into like what I want May 1st to look like now. Like, okay, I'm going to do this over the next 3 months. And I genuinely work hard at making those 3 months, what's a normal person would consider an effective year.
Hey, leader, did you know there's 261 business days in a year? And statistically, most business leaders are balancing about that many opportunities, issues, problems, bouncing around in their head at one time. So we created the261.com. Go there, put your email in, and we're going to organize all those things and send you one daily email that's about this long. It's going to take you about 5 seconds to read, but it's going to remind you of that thing that you need to remember, that thing you need to do or schedule as a leader to be who you want to be. Go check it out, sign up, follow along. See you there.
I had there's a guy in my peer group, and he had just bought a new business, and he spent a lot of time creating this like master year plan. And he sat down we have a mutual coach, and the coach looks at it and goes, "Great. Can you do this in 6 weeks?" And he goes, eyes get real big.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never thought about it. And the answer was no, he couldn't do it in 6 weeks. It was too extreme, but he did it maybe in a quarter, like you're talking about, just by saying, what more is possible if we're strategic about what we want.
And the big thing about a year is gives you a few things. Number one is it allows you to delay, because you always think you're going to get to it. I like doing a quarter because it creates a level of urgency. And even if you don't hit it perfectly, trust me when I tell you, when you divide your year up into quarters, you will have a 3 times more effective year than you would have by doing the 1 year method.
Yeah. I think businesses, like the businesses we work with, System and Soul, we teach the businesses to do that. I don't know if I've ever really thought about doing it on the personal level like that.
Yeah. And I definitely do it. And an example of that would be like Andy Frisell does a 75 hard, a physical training program Right. I think businesses should do that. Now you can create it, because I did this with my business. So, I read it. I'm like, physically, I do most of what he says anyway.
Right.
So there wasn't anything earth shattering. And I've had Andy on the podcast that blew me away. I mean, I love it. And it would jar the 9 out of 10 people system. In my world, it was like, okay, yeah, I like that. That's great. But I'm doing it. But then it hit me. I'm like, well, what if I had the same 75-day improvement in my business? Okay, we're going to do this many sales calls. We're going to do this level of follow-up. Okay, we're going to do this level of guys getting back to looking more neat and, out in the field. We're going to, so I took it and translated it over to the business.
I love that. And it almost makes, gamification might be too strong of a word, but it did. Yeah. It's very similar. That's really cool. I love that idea. I'm probably going to steal it. So thank you.
Don't worry. I don't have anything original. So it's all, it's a piece of everybody's.
I feel you. Me too. So heading into this new year, tell me a couple of the top things that are on your mind that you're thinking about, you're passionate about, maybe things that are learned from the previous year, but where's your mind out?
Again, as you start getting over the age of 40, you start valuing time just a touch more and trying to be more strategic in it. I only focus on 3 goals a year. That's my one thing. I think that what I've learned is that it doesn't mean you only accomplish 3 things a year, but 3 things that I'm really hyper focused on. Okay, that's number one. Next is that I always have that one thing that I don't think you can visualize multiple things. Being an athlete, I use visualization and it works. For anybody out there who doesn't think it works, there's a reason why athletes do it. There's a reason why gymnasts and divers and people that have routine, there is a reason why they do it. Trust me. But I only visualize one thing every day. So there's only one superseding goal above all goals that I'm like, okay, this is the one that knocks down 9 different mini goals.
Yeah. And do your 3 objectives all align to that one thing that you're visualizing?
And they don't. And that's the thing, because I have so many different things going on. There was a day when it did, but I'll go through them so they're not like, nuclear secrets. One is I founded the Weekend MBA, which is a huge entrepreneurship event. This year we have Ed Milet as our keynote speaker, and it's like a list of who's who. Well, that's April 28th and 29th. So that is preeminent right now. Like, okay, there's other things I have, but there is like no need to focus, because if I screw that up, I'm going to take a 6 or 7 digit financial loss. If we do that at the level we can, and we will, not only is it a financial win, it's a massive impactful win. It moves, from an influence level, from expanding my networking level. It puts people in my phone that would, that are amazing. Okay. Doing that one thing well. So that's number one. Okay. And that's the thing I'll visualize, most of the year. Okay. Second, then, is I got to go to my business. I mean, what allows me to roll a $500,000 dice to even start an event like that? What allowed me to do it? Never forget what feeds you.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like the Weekend MBA, it teases me. It's fun. How can it not be fun? But what has allowed me to have the credibility and the financial position to even be able to do that? Never forget what pays your bills. It doesn't, because the things that you're doing, it's like being married for a while. Your relationship grows. Okay. There's the hot level, when you're dating in the first couple years, and then it goes through different phases, all of which are great. Doesn't diminish any of them. That's just reality. Yeah. Well, our businesses do the same thing. They do the same thing. So so my core business isn't really a sexy business, but I make more money than the president and the vice president and the secretary of state combined. So it's a pretty good gig. So I always have that. There's got to be a goal on that core business. There has to be, and I have one goal generally. It has to be involving growth. If you're not growing, you're dying. So it's always growth oriented. And then third, I have one that's involved in my personal being, as a person. I'm a faith-based guy. So I go to church, but so mine is, I want to start a golf league, and this is where it shocked everybody waiting to hear something really spiritual. We all have different gifts. Let other people greet and do whatever they do. I want to start a golf league. I play golf, and I want to start a 6-week golf league, like right from the Masters through like the beginning of June, 6 weeks, because men love to compete.
Yeah.
I'm not into, I don't go in and shake hands. I'm one of them, like, you'd think I was the least social person in the world, but I know the value of relationships, and I realize that me shaking your hand is not going to make us friends. Right? You follow me, we're not going to be friends. Everybody I love and care about, I actually talk to on my phone. I only text them to schedule a call. Hey, what are you doing? Let's chat. Whatever, something like that. So I realized that relationally, my relationships started moving too far outside of my geographical area. In other words, they're my buddies from college, and I have the same friends for 35 years, but they're not physically here. I can't do lunch with them. I can't go play around the golf with them and all that. And I realized as I'm getting older, people that I was friends with here, now that you're hitting 50, are moving away. And so like you kind of wake up one day and you're like, wow, I don't have my core buddies. Like I used to have guys I used to go to lunch with every day. And now I woke up and during the pandemic, that's when it hits you. Because I was busy then, but when I realized, I go, man, I lack that social community, just that my high five club, my, hey man, you wouldn't believe what happened yesterday group. That group, I missed that group. And so I'm like, years ago, I started a softball team when I first moved to Charlottesville because I needed to make friends. Like, who better to do it than sports? So I started a softball team. Man, we won the league like every year. And I had the most incredible friends for like 15 years. Then they all started moving away and retiring and whatever the case may be. So I was like, well, what am I good at? I'm good at starting something from nothing. What do I like? I love sports. I love competing. Combine my two, food groups.
Yeah.
And so that's my 2023. I'm going to start a golf league, do it in the spring and do it in the fall. So it allows me to 12 weeks of interaction with people that are local, because we get caught up in I got this guy on my phone and I can talk to this. That's great. But can you go do lunch with them?
Right.
Can you do lunch with them? Can you go grab a breakfast or a coffee with them? Guess what? If you can't, you have a relationship and it's at a certain level. But we all need that physical proximity relationship. So I'm giving your audience. So these three probably tied into your first question as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I like how, I don't know if you're aware of this or this was intentional, but of your three things, one of them something new.
Yeah.
Two of them are something new. But the new business, the new thing, to keep that entrepreneurial energy high. I love the idea of that second one's feed what feeds you. So how are we going to continue to grow that? I think I had this conversation yesterday. I think you were saying there's always got to be a growth goal. I have one tiny asterisk exception to that. If the business isn't healthy, you got to get it healthy first.
I agree. Thankfully, yeah. And I would agree with that. I'd say this. Guess what? If you're in a trauma situation, you better fix the trauma first. Right? You can't get an exercise program if you just had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right. If you're struggling with diabetes right now, type 2 diabetes, probably a weightlifting routine may not be the next thing you move into. Let's get that under control. I completely agree with you. Thankfully, my businesses are healthy. But I like how you say that, because you're right about something. I want to kind of go back to that, because I remember a time when my business wasn't healthy and our bottom line looked good, but our culture sucked. And I'm not a culture guru, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit of woo-woo. At the end of the day, if you're not making money, culture don't mean a thing, just so you know. But if you're making money and your culture sucks, they'll eventually merge. So your money, you'll be making money. It'll eventually start getting it. But I think we get a little woo-woo early on. Early on businesses, I tell you, listen to me, you really need to make money, because if you can't pay everybody on Friday, no matter how much they like you, they're going to leave. So barring that, but I like what you're saying is that I'm very much in a growth mode now, but there was a time there when our culture was horrible. I literally woke up and didn't want to go to my own company to work.
Yeah.
And we gutted it like a fish. And I think it's like purging, you cut your bushes back and then they come back and they bloom better.
Yeah.
I was just saying that this morning, like our growth now is more than 5 times what it was then.
Yeah.
And it's in millions and like a number, like I said the number this morning to my wife and I was like, wow, this is even a number that surprises me.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a very common part of the entrepreneurial story for the people that make it past. We have this whole thing, we call it the chasm, right? But once they make it past the chasm that you went through to gut it all, reinvent it, refigure it out, that's what separates the people from I have a lifestyle business for the rest of my life to I'm turning into the leader that this business needs and making it an actual business.
Yeah, no question. And so, glad we got all that squared away, because I agree with you completely. I know your observation is 100% spot on.
Let me dig into your golf thing, because I'm intrigued. I've got a group in my phone. We call them the Wolf Pack.
Okay.
And so it's me and 4 other guys around. I realized the same thing you did. A lot of my friends were becoming geographically dispersed. And I love them. My best friend lives an hour away. But I don't have the people. Let's meet up for breakfast. Let's keep it regular. All of those things. So we were intentional. One guy, I can't take credit, pulled this off. And
We've got kids similar ages, so we see each other in community as well. So I'm fascinated. I'm on board. I want to know, when you put together this in the golf setting, is the intentionality just, hey, I'm going to get, literal miles with these guys walking courses and build that time? Or is there something more to it?
This is how I figured. If you've ever played a round of golf with somebody, you naturally talk. Even if you play 9 holes, 9 holes is 2 hours. There's nothing we really do. 2 hours is a powerful amount of time, because if you play golf, you don't have your cell phones on. If you do, you're going to realize nobody's going to want to play golf with you. So golf naturally creates a unique setting. No kids, no spouse, no phone. You're absolutely dialed in. So I would argue that those 2 hours are like 20 hours in any other setting. The way I wanted to do it is that the way we'll do it is it's 6 weeks, and I'm going to buy 9 holes. My company's going to bankroll. We're going to buy 9 holes. And so 9 holes, 4 people, 36. So 36 golfers will be able to sign up each week. And you'll play with different people each week. Yeah. So over 6 weeks, you'll constantly rotate through. So at the end of it, over 6 weeks, you play with 6 different, you're going to have a chance to maybe interact with like 20, I don't know the exact math of it, but 24 people for 2 hours. And there's that natural gravitation. What you do with that, I'm a type of person, if I can tell within an hour if I like you.
Sure.
Where the chemistry is right. And then, I'll be proactive. To me, I'm auditioning 24 people that might be somebody I want to go to lunch with. So I know what my reasoning is. So I'm just creating a nice platform to where I can meet people that I haven't met. And I'd like to think over 6 weeks, if I connect with if I connect with one person of similar, I'm winning the game. That would be great. And then do it again in the fall. And so I just think, I like the competition concept of it. I have some great scoring method in my head that's going to make it really, really fun that most people don't do. Real quick tip. My son's is a golf pro. So my daughter married well. So everybody thinks they hit the ball longer than they are. If you ever play golf, what'll frustrate you playing golf with new people is they suck. Yeah. No, that's it. Why? Everybody thinks it's easy. It is the hardest game in the world. There's a reason why Michael Jordan and Tom Brady and all these guys play golf. And when you watch the match, do you see how many times these guys shank the ball? Well, one shank is like a really big score deficit in real life. Just so you can't kind of like re-tee it up and it all goes well. So with that, that whole competitive side of it, I'm going to have everybody start from the ladies' tees. So when we start our first week, I'm going to say, listen, if you're great, you're going to work your way back to the big boy tees. But we're not going to start you at the big boy tees so you're humiliated and embarrassed. Yeah. So I'm going to keep you from embarrassing yourself. So we're going to start at the front tees. And then as your score hits a certain number, then you'll work your way back to the next level tees and next level tees. So within 3 weeks, by the third week, the really good guys will be at the back. The guys who aren't so good, they don't move at all, and they're not embarrassed. They just didn't move, and everybody's kind of used to it. So this is a crazy idea I had in my head, how to make it like more fun.
Yeah.
So that's one of the little ways of doing it. And then each person scores, and then they'll play with different people. And then at the end, their cumulative score. So an individual will win. It won't be a team. Whoever had, and we'll kind of break it up into groups. So that you can tell I've really played this thing through in my head quite a bit on making it, to make it really fun. I watched I watched the father-son golf event, PNC, with Tiger Woods and his son. And I always buy a lot of commercials for that for my company. And I realized, like, if you ask these golfers, even when they play in the Masters, like, what is their favorite weekend? Barring being in their absolute prime of life of going for the Masters, I would say every single one of them would say, no, it's the weekend where I play with my son, I play with my daughter, play with my son-in-law. So I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna recreate this.
So there's a side effect to what you're doing that you didn't mention, but I'm going to bet is in the back of your head, and I'm going to use a story to illustrate it. And I'm going to mess up the story with the details, but there's an organization called World 50, and they put together these peer groups that are the top, kind of Fortune 50 companies. So they'll have a CTO group, an HR group, and the marketing group was meeting, and the meeting was over. The CMO for Nike goes to get a cab back to the airport, and the CMO from Apple walks out to get a cab back to the airport. They're like, why don't we share a cab? In that ride between that meeting and the airport, Nike Plus was born. You remember Nike Plus?
Yeah.
The collaboration between Apple and Nike. So like just you getting those people together, you have no idea the magic that can happen from those people randomly meeting and spending 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of my, brainchild. And I feel like it has a social component of it. It just has, it's totally outside. I have plenty to do in business, and yeah, whatever happens, but I love the idea that men typically bond better in competitive situations. Watch us go bowling and you'll know. Watch men throw darts. Watch men play cornhole. I mean, only men could come up with cornhole.
Right.
Just look at, we're going to lay a piece of board. We're going to cut a damn hole out of it, man. I'm going to grab something and throw it through it. Only guys can come up with that and make it competitive.
Yes. Yeah. My wife's as competitive as I am though. So she might beg to differ.
Yeah,
she's rare.
And for all my female Olympic athletes in Division I's, yes, you're very competitive. I don't doubt that. But guys, we can get ridiculous.
Sean, what's one more thing that's on your mind as you're heading into the new year?
Heading into the new year, I want to grow well as I grow older. In that, I want to constantly, I want to keep learning. I want to keep getting better. I don't want to ever reach a stalemate, a stall period. I meet so many people that just have nothing going on. You meet them. I'm like, oh, and they're thinking about retirement. The word retirement is like I can't even word it. Retirement means to me that like you either never did what you like doing, because great Warren Buffett's 90. I think he's going to be 91. Okay, I don't know if he works the same schedule he did, but I know he works. I'm not saying you got to do 100% of what you did. I'm not saying you got to work 8 hours. But I always want to wake up with something that is productive.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very cognitive of my skills aging well. I'm very, very aware of doing things that I think I can do for 30 more years. I'm eliminating a lot of things that I think would affect my shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. The elimination part's huge too, because so often we keep adding. And it's kind of like we talked about with the business. The pruning season is just as important because it sets up that room for growth.
I just eliminated about a $400,000 income stream for our company at the end of the year that nobody probably would have. And I just met with my partners and I was like, guys, this is draining me. I don't like the people that we have currently doing it. I think we could reconfigure something else we have going on and make that income back to about 80%. But it was like, I just ran it through. I go like, it's mentally exhausting. I don't need it personally. It's not going to like affect my lifestyle that much. Yes. I think we can do something better with the resources. But typically you grow through elimination.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a great reminder. Perfect for the intentionality of the season. Sean, what's the number one way you'd want people to connect with you, follow you?
Yeah, really simple. I mean, if you like a quick podcast where you really get a fast, dose of energy and insight, the 10-Minute Entrepreneur Podcast is definitely that. But you can reach out to me on Instagram, and that's an easy way. And, SeanCastrina.com, and my team will send you a free ebook of one of my books. And good news is I'm actually up to 4 books. See, my PR agent, I need to update. He probably had the old. Yeah, since then I wrote The World's Greatest Business Plan, which is really good. My son wanted to start a company, so I tried to break down how simple a business plan needs to be.
Yeah.
So I bought him all these business plan books. like from Amazon. I know I ordered the whole first page of Amazon. Seriously, just ordered the entire first page. They came to me and they were the most worthless pieces of things I could ever. Like 350 pages. They were either way too exhaustive. They were fantasy world. Susie starts company A, B, and C. And by year 2, she's donating half her profits away. And she's spending time doing yoga, meditation, and what? Yeah, okay. Fantasy world. So I sat down and started writing out like what a real life practical business plan looks like. So I wrote that, and then I recently just published Developing the Entrepreneur Within, which is 365. I wrote it like a devotional book. Everything I've learned, I'd always journaled it anyway. So I took my journals and then put it into 365 days of learning. Like every mistake I've ever made in business, you get it in like one page. Like a little secret, failure is best heard through a secondhand story, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
And less painful.
Yeah, a lot less painful.
Yeah. Unfortunately, many of us don't have the capacity to learn that way.
Yeah. So Instagram, SeanCastrina.com. And of course, you can go to listen to the 10-Minute Entrepreneur podcast.
Love it. Love your energy. Love the impact you're making in the world. Thanks for hanging out with us, Sean.
I really appreciate it.